Hello, this is that Rob Human. I'm here to talk about my Gridfinity-esque system using Lasercut MDF, 8-inch MDF. This is primarily in response to Mr. Robert Cowan, who recently walked through his experiences with Gridfinity and prompted me to kind of make a video documenting what I've come up with. Bit of background, I tried Gridfinity but didn't really have access to a FDM printer when I got started, but I did have a laser cutter, so I made a laser cut version of Gridfinity, quote unquote. It's based around a 48mm grid instead of a 42mm grid because of the thickness of the MDF, but whatever. So this is my primary casual workspace. Just by the way, Robert, thank you for Pegit. I love it. I've started converting everything over to Pegit. Adore it. So I'm going to just open this up here, and this is kind of a catch-all drawer. This is the 48mm grid system and some things that I've made using it. But most of the things are just these 1x1 or 1x2 or some variation grid that I just cut out of MDF and glue together. Time-wise, it takes, on average, about 4 minutes per 1x1 by, technically this is 2 levels tall because I've got a half level. So 1x1x2 takes about 4 minutes. Between laser cutting a sheet that can take about 20 of those and gluing them together takes about an hour and 20 minutes or so. But like you're doing a bunch, and you sit down and you watch a YouTube video and glue a bunch of bins together, and it goes by in no time. Way more than, or way faster than an FDM print, though there is obviously your processing. So that drawer I also laser cut out of 1/4-inch MDF that is specifically sized to fit grid. So I'll get into the app that I wrote. This is kind of my catch-all crafting stuff, and it's just, again, more grid, and you've got these little drawers. This is kind of my everyday carry drawer. You got, I'm working on redesigning handles, that's why it's so rough, but like just crafting stuff, pin vices, grabbers, scribes, tweezers, and I think, yeah, here's my files and stuff. So again, this was made using Lasercut 1/4-inch MDF, and I built the shelf around it using aluminum extrusion. Yeah, I don't know if that's worth it for a lot of people, but it was fun, so I did that. Coming over to here, excuse the mess, also cat. This is where I store all my paints. And again, this is the same drawer system. And these are just 3x3, I think they're 3x3, yeah, because these are 6x6, that I just divided into sections that actually just hold my paints really nicely. There is actually a more efficient way to do that with laser cut holes in them, and they just slot a paint in there nicely. This is what actually originally inspired the Gridfinity setup. I wanted to store all my paints. Again, I'll talk about the app in a minute. I also have these drawer units, which is kind of like the one over on the miscellaneous stuff. So like this holds my OmniFixo compatible stuff, and it's just a whole wall of drawer units. There is a caveat with these that I'll get to when I go downstairs to show you the rest of it. I've also got more paints, same system. I will talk about those when I get downstairs, and I'll probably go into this a little bit more downstairs, but I have this little carrying case. This is for my airbrushes and brush stuff, so I can just pick up this whole unit and take it to whatever workspace I'm working on. Painting handles, those are fun. So yeah, let me get downstairs and I'll show you the, oh wait, I'm sorry, I lied. I also have pen holders and more drawers and USB stuff for when I'm walking to because my laser cutter runs on SneakerNet, so I just have a bunch of USB drives that hold on to everything. So I just made that, and it slots on top of the same grid and whatnot. So let me head downstairs. I'll show you the drawers and the other things that I've made out of this. Okay, so this is the downstairs. This is my hardware rack. Let me actually back up and try and get this whole thing in frame. Obviously a work in progress because I still have to make more. That's what the ones upstairs were. Hardware rack. These are things... Ooh, gravity works. These are bins that I've made based off of Alexander Chappell's design, and they just hold grid. And this is, what, M5 countersunk screws. I've got a whole rack of hardware. I don't have handles on these because I didn't feel like I needed them. That's still a work in progress. I might revisit that, but like the heat set inserts that I've collected over the years. So yeah, this is nice. I like this. And this whole bin on a drawer thing was inspired by Adam Savage and his setup from some time ago. Again, made it out of aluminum extrusion and just a whole bunch of drawer slides. It got expensive, but man, this was fun. Let me walk over to, excuse the mess. This, which holds my printer, and I will be making another one for my resin printer setup, actually uses the same system, even though it's not actively using the grid. This is just what I store my filament in. Again, inspired by Robert Cowan on his setup, but again, I went Lasercut because I like laser cutting. Technically, and this is what I mean about technically, this is the same system. Technically, this is a 2x6 grid container for my plates. Like I can store all my build plates. Of course, I pulled out 2, so now it's going to be really difficult to put this back in correctly. Yep, and I missed it. Okay, there we go. So technically, if I wanted to gridify this, I could, because it uses the same external measurements. The other thing that I've got here are, these are all my drill bits. So like, what is this, 2 to 3 millimeter drawer, and the labels are coming off because it's humid down here. I don't have a fiber laser yet, or else I would etch these. You know, 5 to 6 millimeter, all my common use ones, which are actually like 0.5 millimeter increments, that because I wanted them in a separate drawer. There is a problem with this, and this is still a work in progress, as you can see. This drawer unit fits within the grid, which means the drawers don't fit within the grid, like the things in the drawer. So I can't actually take this out and have it fit into an existing grid. So I've got to actually remake these with the internal dimensions set up to a grid. And I contemplated doing that the first time around, which is what these drawers are. And I didn't like it, but having used this for a little while, I actually prefer doing that. So that's a thing. And I've got, that one's empty, my Forstner bits down here. And I've been using 3D printed inserts for some of these. That's why these are this. But these, I mean, it took like 8 hours to print out an entire drawer's worth. So it's not that bad compared to making everything out of Gridfinity. It's just when you want an insert, what I really like doing is, I think this is a version, doing a version of this that fits within an MDF container. So like I would cut a, say, 2x3 MDF bin and then print an insert that fits inside of that. And that way I can move inserts around and whatnot. It's just more uniform, but that's a work in progress. Over here, I've got more little tiny drawer units for my Wago connectors. This is where I keep my bits of wire. And my soldering iron is upstairs, but this is like my electronics carry case. So like, soldering iron goes there. I've got my tips and whatnot. So, just miscellaneous storage. I'm recovering from a small flood, so the workshop's a bit of a mess. Again, peg it. Thank you. So, in my experience, this system it takes up a little bit more room because it's 48 millimeter as opposed to 42 millimeter. It is way more durable than Gridfinity, and I think a little bit more flexible because I wouldn't want to 3D print this entire thing, for example. It's more expensive if you print bigger things because it takes up more room on a single sheet. But if you're printing smaller bins, it's cheaper than FDM printing. And no matter what, it will always be faster and take less time. But of course, that comes with the idea that you have to glue them together yourselves afterwards. So, swings and roundabouts. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. So yeah, I much prefer this over vanilla Gridfinity. The app, I forgot about the app. So I wrote an app. Let me actually pause and I'll bring that up. And I'm not going to screenshot it, but like, just, I'll film me using it on the screen. I know that's faux pas, but bear with me. Okay, I'm going to try and capture this here. Sorry. So this is an app that I wrote. It's at thatrobhuman.com/gridfinity-gamma, or just go to thatrobhuman.com and you'll see it. But it basically, you get to decide what you want to build. Say, a simple grid box. This is a 1x1x2. And you can either copy the SVG, or you can change the dimensions of it. So like a 3x1, and again, copy that. Or if you want to print out or cut out, like, I don't know, 6 of these, you can come over to this sheet and, you know, say, hey, I've got a sheet of 24x18 of 1/8 inch MDF, and I want to print out, cut out 3 of these grid boxes that I just declared. And it'll try and pack it into as few sheets as possible. So you can just copy this whole thing and put it into Lightburn and cut it. There's a couple different layouts, like there's that drawer unit that I showed off before I made using this. There's a tray, which is what I use to make all the drawers that contain a bin. And there's obviously your base plates and whatnot. So yeah, and then there's a jig for putting the feet on the... Do I have an empty bin somewhere? That's empty now. So like, the feet is how it slots into that. It's just a separate sheet of MDF. But you get the feet when you cut the build plate for free. So when you cut a build plate, you get the feet, and then you can get a jig that actually... I have a 3D printed one. A little jig. So that way you can make sure that the feet are aligned when you glue them on. So yeah, that's an app I wrote that exports the SVG of the thing. So in theory, you shouldn't need to design an entire system because I already did that work and made an app for it. So, oh, here's the soldering iron bit that I did. That goes downstairs. This is a barb that I got off Amazon, like a barb connector, whatever. Yeah, that's kind of the system, so I'll put links in the usual places. Bye!